In the hidden corridors of ceremonial magic, few have dared to walk the true, unaltered paths laid out in the grimoires of old. Among these rare practitioners stands Frater Ashen Chassan, a modern magician devoted to the authentic recreation of ancient magical practices. The sacred art Frater Ashen reveals in his work gateways through stone and circle, a system rooted deeply in Johannes Trithemius's tradition, particularly the art of drawing spirits into crystals. His approach rejects shortcuts and personal improvisations, instead focusing on the painstaking reconstruction of sacred procedures described in the earliest magical manuscripts. True magic, Frater Ashen often reminds his students, is not about reinvention but rediscovery. In an age where ceremonial practices are frequently diluted and commercialized, his commitment to the original texts stands as a testament to the power of authenticity in the great work. The manuscripts he studies are not merely historical artifacts, but living documents, windows into an ancient understanding of reality that modern consciousness has largely forgotten. Through meticulous study of these texts in their original languages, Frater Ashen has reconstructed the precise methodology that allows for genuine spirit communication. The ceremonial steps, the journey to the true call of the spirits, follows these essential stages. Stage 1. The mind and spirit of the magician. Before any tool is built or spirit called, the magician must prepare themselves through days of chastity and abstinence from worldly distractions, daily prayers and confessions to cleanse the heart meditation, upon divine wisdom to focus the will. As Ashen emphasizes, the soul of the practitioner is the first and most vital instrument. Without a purified vessel, no spirit of light will manifest. This purification extends beyond mere physical abstinence. The practitioner must undergo what the ancients called kenosis, an emptying of self to become a worthy vessel for divine communication. This process involves systematic examination of conscience, the release of deep-seated fears and attachments, and the cultivation of profound humility before the mysteries. Many modern occultists fail precisely at this stage, unable or unwilling to undergo the necessary spiritual preparation. They approach ritual with minds cluttered by mundane concerns, bodies polluted by chemical stimulants, and spirits fragmented by technological distractions. Under such conditions, contact with higher intelligences becomes impossible. Stage 2. The sacred tools. Each instrument must be prepared with reverence. The crystal sphere, the gateway between worlds, the golden disc, engraved with sacred names of planetary intelligences, the ebony pedestal, the throne upon which the crystal rests, the holy table, marked with divine symbols for a sacred center. To rush the creation of the tools, writes Frater Ashen, is to poison the well from which your visions must spring. The creation of these tools is not merely mechanical, but alchemical. Each item must be crafted during specific celestial configurations, blessed with appropriate prayers, and consecrated through rituals that activate their symbolic potential. The crystal sphere, for instance, is traditionally exposed to the light of the full moon for 9 consecutive lunar cycles before its first use in ceremonial practice. The mathematical proportions of each tool are equally significant. The golden disc must be precisely 5.25 inches in diameter, the pedestal exactly 7 inches tall. These measurements correspond to cosmic harmonies understood by the ancient practitioners and preserved in their secret teachings. Stage 3. Ritual garments and insignias. The magician becomes a vessel of sacred authority through the robe, traditionally white or black, symbolizing purity and mystery. The magic ring, inscribed with divine names, a symbol of authority. The lamen, worn over the heart, bearing sacred symbols. These are not mere costumes, but spiritual armor, consecrated in prayer and ritual fire. The fabric of the robe itself carries significance, traditionally made of linen harvested during particular lunar phases and woven by hand rather than machine. The embroidered symbols that often adorn these garments are not decorative but functional, creating what Frater Ashen calls an architecture of intention around the magician's physical form. The magic ring deserves special attention in this tradition. Typically crafted from silver, gold, or electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver, it serves as both protection and amplifier for the magician's will. The divine names inscribed upon it, usually in Hebrew or Enochian scripts, create a circuit of sacred energy around the hand that gestures during invocations. Stage 4. The ritual. Space. The physical world must reflect sacred order. The circle of art is drawn, establishing the boundary between worlds. The workspace is purified with holy water, incense, and invocations. Candles, perfumes, and planetary colors are aligned to the spirit being summoned. The preparation of the ritual space begins days before the actual ceremony. The room must be thoroughly cleaned, not just physically, but energetically. Through fumigation with specific herb blends, recitation of psalms, and sprinkling of consecrated water. Many practitioners follow Frater Ashen's recommendation to abstain from allowing non-initiates to enter this space for at least 9 days prior to significant operations. The circle of art itself represents one of the most complex aspects of the traditional practice. Far from being a simple geometric shape, it contains multiple rings of divine names, angelic seals, and planetary sigils, all arranged according to precise cosmological principles. The traditional circle described in the Key of Solomon contains 3 concentric rings, with the outermost ring bearing the names of God in 4 quarters, corresponding to the cardinal directions. Within this protected space, the arrangement of ritual furniture follows strict guidelines. The altar faces east, the direction of dawning light. Upon it, candles of specific colors correlate to the planetary nature of the spirit being summoned. White for lunar entities, green for Venusian intelligences, red for martial spirits, and so forth. Stage 5. The hour of calling only at the correct planetary hour on the correct day. Can the ritual begin? Facing the direction associated with the spirit, speaking the ancient conjurations preserved in the grimoires, gazing fixed into the crystal sphere, the bridge between matter and spirit. Timing of magical operations represents one of the most critical and often neglected aspects of traditional practice. Each day governs different planetary energies. Sunday for solar operations, Monday for lunar work, Tuesday for Mars, and so on. Within each day, the hours are further divided according to planetary rulerships, creating specific windows of opportunity for contacting particular intelligences. Frater Ashen teaches his advanced students to calculate these hours using traditional methods rather than modern approximations. This requires understanding of sidereal time, the houses of heaven, and the ancient system of unequal hours, where daylight and nighttime are each divided into 12 segments regardless of the season. The invocation ritual, when properly prepared, the magician stands fully robed and consecrated within the circle of ardalines. All tools precisely according to tradition, faces the correct direction based on the spirit's nature, begins the invocations with opening prayers, planetary invocations, and the call to the spirit. The actual invocation consists of 3 distinct phases, each with its own purpose. First comes the appeal to divine authority, where the magician affirms his place within the cosmic hierarchy and calls upon God's protection. This initial phase establishes the sacred container for the work and ensures that only benevolent forces can respond to the call. The second phase involves the planetary attunement, prayers, vibrations, and visualizations that align the magician's consciousness with the specific celestial sphere governing the spirit to be contacted. During this phase, the appropriate planetary incense is kindled, filling the chamber with fragrant smoke that serves as both offering and medium for manifestation. Finally comes the direct evocation, where the specific spirit is called by name, seal, and function. These conjurations, often preserved in Latin, Hebrew, or Enochian, must be pronounced with perfect clarity and confidence. Hesitation or mispronunciation can weaken the magical current and render the operation ineffective. Signs of the spirit's arrival may include air growing heavier and electric, subtle flashes of light within or around the crystal, a deep emotional shift signaling the spirit's proximity. During communication, the magician confirms the spirit's identity. Through name, sign, and purpose, poses questions clearly and respectfully, listens with both mind and soul. Frater Ashen describes authentic spirit communication as a conversation between depths, where the deepest part of the magician's consciousness meets the essential nature of the spirit. This exchange transcends ordinary perception and often manifests through symbolic impressions, wordless understandings, or sudden inspirations, rather than audible voices. As Frater Ashen warns, if you must ask whether something is happening, it is not. When the spirit arrives, you will know. The sacred mindset. The successful practitioner approaches the ritual not as a researcher conducting an experiment, but as a priest entering the temple of the ancients. This distinction is crucial. In Frater Ashen's practice, one cannot simply test whether spirits exist. One must cultivate the certitude that the unseen worlds are as real and vital as our own. This sacred mindset requires a fundamental shift in consciousness that few modern seekers are willing to undertake. It demands suspension of the analytical mind and surrender to the wisdom of tradition. As Frater Ashen notes in his private journals, the modern occultist too often approaches magic as a scientist rather than a supplicant. This is why they see nothing but shadows of their own making. The rituals described in Trithemius's manuscripts cannot be performed halfway or with reservation. They demand complete philosophical commitment to their worldview, a cosmos alive with intelligences, hierarchies of spirits, and divine order manifesting through sacred correspondences, aftermath, and integration. Once the ritual is complete, the magician must thank the spirit and formally license it to depart. Record all impressions, messages, and visions immediately. Interpret received wisdom with humility and patience. Apply the lessons actively in daily life. The spirit will speak in the language your soul understands, not always the language your mind expects. The experienced practitioner learns to recognize authentic contact through subtle signs, a peculiar quality of light in the crystal, unexpected but meaningful synchronicities following the ritual, or revelations that could not have originated from the magician's conscious mind. These subtle confirmations become more recognizable with dedicated practice. The integration phase represents the true measure of magical success. Visions and communications, no matter how profound, must ultimately transform the magician's life and understanding if they are to fulfill their purpose. This transformation often unfolds gradually, through dreams, intuitions, and synchronicities that continue long after the formal ritual has concluded. Frater Ashen advises students to maintain a separate journal solely for recording the long-term effects of their spiritual operations. By documenting these subtler manifestations, patterns emerge that reveal the spirit's continued influence and guidance. The greatest messages often come not during the ritual itself, but in the weeks and months that follow, through chance encounters, symbolic dreams, or sudden insights that illuminate previously impenetrable mysteries. The dangers of the path. The ceremonial journey is not without its perils. Frater Ashen candidly acknowledges the risks inherent in this ancient practice. Approaching powerful spiritual forces without proper preparation can lead to psychological imbalance, energetic depletion, or even what traditional texts describe as obsession, a state where lower entities attach themselves to the unprepared magician. Signs of improper practice include persistent nightmares, unexplained physical ailments, unusual bad luck, or psychological disturbances following ritual work. The traditional remedy involves periods of purification, banishing rituals, and sometimes the assistance of more experienced practitioners who can help restore spiritual equilibrium. The path of high magic, Frater Ashen warns, is not for the merely curious or the spiritually unprepared. It demands complete dedication, moral integrity, and the courage to face both external spirits and one's own inner shadows. The true path, Frater Ashen Chassan teaches a vital truth. Each step, each tool, each word spoken in the circle is part of a greater living ritual, a gateway between the seen and unseen worlds. To call forth the spirits is to honor tradition. It is to respect the art meticulously handed down through grimoires like the Magus, the Key of Solomon, and the works of Trithemius. Deviation leads to failure. Discipline leads to revelation. The ceremonial journey is not simply a ritual, but a discipline of the soul, a sacred alchemy. Each true invocation leaves the magician forever altered, closer to the hidden truths that pulse beneath the surface of the world. For as they say at the Occult Triangle, we do not merely study magic, we awaken it.